Okay, so now we're going to do a more complicated animation, an animation that can switch between different animations as the game runs. So we've got a player, and what we're going to do is we're going to start off by giving him the same components as the enemy. So he's got an animator already that we added. We're going to give him an animation component. We're also going to go and make an animation controller, just like we did for the enemy. Player anim controller. And we're going to drag that into there, into the slot in the animator. So, right, so first thing we're going to do then is we're going to make our animation. So I've got the player selected. I'm going to go into the animation tab. I'm going to create the first animation, player idle. And again, I'm going to go and get those sprites. Player idle. I'm going to expand that so I can see the sprites. I'm just going to roughly do the timing. Again, I'm going to copy and paste that last frame. And what I'm going to do is make another one. So I'm going to click on where it says player idle. That's always awkward, I find. It's not obvious where that is. And create a new clip. I'm going to call it player walk. Now I'm going to get the two player walk ones. What's going on there? Get the player walk ones and make an animation out of those as well. Like that. So I've got two animations, right? And I've got all those. So if I was to now go back into the Animator tab down there, you can kind of see these two things already. If you look in the animation tab, you can see these little icons with the play button on. They're animations, the ones that we've created. So it's got the enemy one, the player idle, and the player walk. So the ones associated with the player are these two here, player idle, player walk. So essentially what we want to do is when he's standing still, we want to play the player idle animation, and when he walks about, we want the player walk. I'm just going to drag this off somewhere so we've got a bit more space and see things at the same time. Right. But at the moment, if we play the game, what happens? Yeah, he's just playing the idle animation, and that's it. So we need some logic in there to switch between them. This is the way we do it. We've looked at variables and what they are in programming. They're basically like boxes that you can store things in. You have different types of variables. You have integers, floats, and bools. The one we're going to be using is an integer. It can be a whole number. And we're going to call it player underscore state, just like that. Now that is important because that's referenced in the code. And the way we do it is basically the code changes the value in player state when it wants to play a different animation. When the player state equals 0, it's set to play the player idle animation. When player state equals 1, when you press some buttons to move around, it plays the player walk animation. Right, so setting that up, we do that here. We go into parameters in the animator tab, and we click on the plus button. We want to make a new int, and our int is called player underscore state. That's very important that we spell that correctly. Now, so anything that's illuminated orange there is our default animation, so it's fine to leave that as player idle. But what I want to do is create some transitions between this and the walk, and then sort of denote how the animation changes. So we're going to right click, go make transition, and click on the player walk. You should now have a line between the two. If I click on that line, it should go blue, and you get the parameters for being able to make that transition. So at the moment there's no conditions there at all, the list's empty, so I'm going to make one by clicking the plus button, and it already puts player state in there because there's no real option, there's nothing else really for it to put in there. And we want it to be equal to, so when it's equal to 1, it's allowed to go to player walk. So change that to 1. So player state equals 1. You can use that transition. It's always important for what we're doing is to just take that exit time thing off as well. So animations go straight away to the other one. There's no kind of smoothing between animations. We don't want that in this game. And then what we're going to do is from player walk, we're going to right click and make a transition backwards. So it can go, we'll set up the condition, player state is equal to 0 again. It can go back to player idle. Again, we'll take the exit time thing off there. Right, let's give that a go and see if it works. Right, so I'm in the idle animation and I'm moving around. Let's just bring that up. And now it's playing the walk animation because I'm moving around. If I stop, let's just give ourselves some space. If I stop, if I walk, it'll play the walk animation. If I stop, it will go back to the idle animation. The beauty of Unity is you can kind of see the transitions happening in real time. So I'm walking now, it's going playing the walk. I'm stopped now, it's going back to the idle. Walk, stop, walk, stop. So it's all pretty good for debugging your animations and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Let's take that maximize off. Right, okay, that just about wraps it up for player animation.